Story time about how my stepdad made my mom choose between him and my brothers. So a little background information, I was 13 years old and in 7th grade, and I had two older brothers, Josh and Alex, who were twins, and they were both 4 years older than me. Whenever I was 3, my dad left my mom for his dentist, and we never saw him again because he decided to start a whole new family with them. Now, because of that, my older brothers always felt like they had a specific role in my family, especially because the guys that my mom brought home, they would only last a week. Well, finally, my mom met this guy who's really nice, and she decided that she was going to get married to him, but he despised my older brothers. Mainly because before he moved in with us, my mom would not depend on him for anything. Anything that needed taken care of around the house, my brothers would do it. And we didn't have too much money while this guy was loaded. Like the one time my mom and this guy, who we're gonna call Jerry, got into a fight. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how my stepdad made my mom choose between him or my brothers. So like I said, my mom and Jerry got into this one fight, and it's a super long story, but pretty much all it made Jerry realize was that he did not have authority over my mother, and she didn't have to depend on him for anything because my brothers would always be there for her. Now, Alex was more of the shy one. Meanwhile, Josh was super hot-headed and didn't deal with anybody's bullshit. And fast forward, my mom and Jerry move in together. That's when we realized that Jerry was super abusive. And Jerry knew that he could pick on Alex whenever he wanted because he wasn't going to do shit. And most of the time, Josh wasn't home because he literally hated Jerry. The one time Alex came home and he did really bad on this one test. And Jerry was like, oh, he needs to learn discipline, blah, blah, blah. The next day, we all were sitting down for breakfast and we saw Alex come downstairs with a black eye. And that's whenever Josh flipped the fuck out. He grabbed Jerry, ripped him across the fucking table, and threatened him with a kitchen knife. And my mom called the cops, like for part 3. Part 3 about how my stepdad made my mom choose between him or my brothers. So like I said he needed to teach some discipline, so he literally beat the shit out of Alex. And we all didn't know until he came downstairs the one morning for breakfast. And that's whenever Josh flipped the hell out. He threatened Jerry with a knife. After that, my mom called the cops. I didn't really do anything but try to de-escalate the situation. But after that, Jerry called a family meeting down to the kitchen table. And he was like, I will not deal with this level of disrespect in this house. He was like, you need to choose between me or them. She was like, well, I'm not going to choose between you or my kids. And he was like, well, then you need to choose them leaving the house. They're about to be 18. They can leave and get their own place. So my mom ended up choosing Jerry because Jerry had a lot of money. And my brothers weren't really that mad about it because it got them out of the house. And my mom would send them a lot of money every month. And Jerry never knew about it. But now instead of him being abusive towards my brothers, he's way more abusive towards my mom.
Storytime about how my boyfriend forces me to wear makeup. My boyfriend and I have only been dating for 4 months. I'm 22 and he's 6 years older than me. Our relationship has been pretty good. After 2 weeks of dating, he started slowly encouraging me to wear more and more makeup. I didn't think anything was wrong with this until he took me to Sephora and told me to choose makeup. I'm not a huge fan of makeup and I actually don't even know how to apply it. So when he took me to Sephora, I was just like, what? He said, pick whatever you want. I chose a few items, but he said, pick more. Then he said he wanted me to put on all the makeup so we could go to dinner. And that night was like the best sex we had ever had. It's like the makeup turned him on. After that, he told me that anytime we would see each other, I had to wear a full face of makeup. I don't even know how to put on foundation. I quickly looked up tutorials to learn how to do it. I used makeup for about a week, and after that, I started breaking out. Told him I didn't want to wear makeup every time I saw him, and if it was okay. And he said no. Point blank, no. He explained to me that I must wear makeup every single time I see him. I don't know how to feel about this, but I don't think it's right. And now he doesn't even touch me if I wear makeup. He even told me that I didn't look as cute as when I wear makeup. Then he actually took out a makeup bag from his car and gave it to me. Is this normal or should I break up with him? Story time of how I found out my boyfriend was cheating on me with my cousin. My boyfriend and I had been together for 2.5 years. His family loved me and my family loved him and they expected us to get married. Well, last year when COVID started, we were actually in different countries, so we didn't see each other for 3 months. During those 3 months, we FaceTimed 4 times a day. And we were always texting. He happened to be quarantining in our hometown, so both of our families were in the same place. I was quarantined in a different country. One day my cousin calls me and tells me that she met a really nice guy on a dating website. I was so happy for her because she had had bad luck with guys. Every single week, her and I would catch up on the phone and she would tell me how much she liked this guy, and how amazing their dates were, and how amazing he was in bed, how sweet and considerate he was. I couldn't be happier for her. Well, when I finally get back home, my boyfriend is super distant and cold. So naturally, I called my cousin and complained. She told me to give him space. She said I should just leave him alone. And so like an idiot, I did leave him alone. One day my cousin calls me and tells me to come over for dinner. When I got there, my boyfriend's car was parked in her garage. I thought it was just her nice way of trying to get us to talk. I walk in and catch them doing the dirty on the couch. Come back for part 2. So I walk in on my cousin and my boyfriend doing the dirty on her couch. They quickly get up from the couch and get dressed. Of course, by that time, I'm in hysterics. I'm crying and yelling. My boyfriend instantly got on his knees and begged me for forgiveness. I went up to my cousin and I punched her right in the face. She wasn't expecting that. And I said, well, this is the guy that you've been dating, isn't it? She said yes, and that she was just trying to find the best way to tell me. And so she just thought the best way to tell me was to get me to walk in on her and him doing the dirty. I punched her again. My boyfriend came to her rescue though. Instantly went into hero mode, which made me even angrier, so I punched him too. I stormed out of her house and went back to my house. Well, I told my parents everything. And my dad went over to my uncle's house, my cousin's dad, and he told him everything. She was about to turn 19, so he took away her phone and her car. And I get a phone call from my ex, come back for part 3. Part 3. So my lying, cheating ex calls me and explains to me why he actually slept with my cousin. He said that he was so lonely and that he didn't know what to do, and that the closest thing to me he could find was my cousin. Right, as if that was any comfort to me. He said I should be grateful that I didn't cheat with someone else. I told him he had totally betrayed my trust and that I could never ever trust him again. And then he confessed that she was pregnant and that his parents wanted them to get married. He said he just wanted to give me a heads up. Then he said that we could still be together but just not tell anyone, so basically he wanted me to be his side piece. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of his mouth. It was like I didn't know this man. Guess what I did? I recorded the entire conversation. So I went straight to my cousin and I let her listen to it. She was so shocked. She couldn't believe that he would offer to have me as a side chick. Well, I also let my uncle listen to it. He went to my ex's house and beat him up. Honestly, that made me sad, but he deserved it. They now have a baby and he's gained 50 pounds. Trust your instincts, girl, and always record your conversations. Also, how cute are my nails?
Am I the asshole for walking out in the middle of dinner over a comment my husband made about my hair loss? I, female 34, got diagnosed with cancer months ago. I'm reaching the end of my treatment and I don't go out much except to visit my husband's family. Well, my husband's been making some comments about my hair loss a number of times, which was hurtful. I know, y'all heard that firework? Anyways, he said he was kidding and apologized. So we went to my in-laws' house for dinner last night and his sister had a new haircut. My husband stared at me and flat out said, "Damn, look at my sister's hair. Why can't you at least get a wig instead of looking like that?" Am I the asshole for walking out in the middle of dinner over a comment my husband made about my hair loss? He said, "Why can't you at least get a wig instead of going out looking like that?" He said it in front of everyone and they were focusing on my head that barely had hair on it. I got up, went to wash my hands and ordered an Uber and walked straight outside and waited for it. My husband and his mom followed me, telling me that I was hypersensitive and should come back inside and not make a scene. When my husband came home, he was seething. He said it was disrespectful and disgraceful that I left in the middle of dinner. He said he's done with my bullshit and his mom called me to get therapy for whatever insecurity I have. Am I the asshole for canceling the family trip after I found out my wife canceled my son's ticket? I, male 42, have 2 boys, Adam 16 and Leo 14. Their mom passed away 5 years ago and I married my wife Rose about a year ago. She adores both of my boys but complains that Leo is uptight and closed up. He keeps to himself and doesn't participate in family functions, but that's just how he is. My wife has taken it personally and thinks he doesn't like her. She started to exclude him from events, saying that he wouldn't be interested anyways, which I think was wrong. Now he started to pick up on it and started asking why. Am I the asshole for canceling the family trip after I found out my wife canceled my son's ticket? I told my wife to do her part and give him the chance to decide. I've been arranging for a family trip and days ago I booked tickets and hotel reservations. Note that I was paying for the entire thing. The day of the trip, I found out Leo's ticket had been canceled and I was dumbfounded. My wife canceled it because she figured Leo wouldn't want to come because he has a moody personality and is introverted. I was so angry I canceled the entire thing. She blew up at me and started lashing out and I had the boys unpack and she went to stay with her sister.